but in the continent as well. Remember, the Sustainable Development Goals envision gender equality as well as empowerment of all women and girls by the year 2030. But how possible is that? Well, in studio for more on that conversation, Betty Adero, Chief of Party at Global Communities, as well as Okudo Adero, who is an entrepreneur and energy economist. Ladies, happy International Women's Day to both of you.
Happy International Women's Day to you too.
Happy
Okudo,
International Women's Day.
Great. I'd like to begin with you, especially as an entrepreneur. You're in business, especially a very male-dominated business, if I could say so. Let me begin with data here from the World Economic Forum 2018 report, which is that the global gender gap is 68%, which essentially means that for every 100 shillings a man makes, a woman in the same job is going to make 68 shillings. Why this gap?
That's a fabulous question that you bring up, and that's the global statistic. Here in Kenya, the gender pay gap is even wider.
Right.
For every shilling that a man is making, women are making far less. And I think that this situation has persisted, because of patriarchy. That's the bottom line. It's still a very patriarchal society. It's still a man's world. And women have made, significant progress and significant strides in the last century or so. But naturally, it's going to take us longer to catch up. More than 150 years ago, women were not allowed to work.
Right.
Women were not allowed to earn wages. And men have been doing this, for centuries. And so, naturally, the pay gap persists because men are still the gatekeepers of a lot of, financial wealth and other, power structures as well.
Is it the patriarchal issue, Betty? Is it the traditional issues surrounding the status of men and women, especially in African society?
Yes, it's that plus many more. Over and above the patriarchal system, we also have gaps in the legislature. We also have gaps in empowering women to just be. Women continue to play by the rules and games that were set by men for men. That is why women continue, and this is sadly so, to be the face of poverty.
Right.
Women continue to be the face of illiteracy, and women continue to be the face of disease. And these are the same issues that we set out as a country, to fight at the time when we were getting independence. So what is it that's making women continue to be in that sorry state? And the three issues I mentioned are actually interconnected. A woman who is poor is less likely to be able to go to hospital when she's sick or when her child is sick. A woman who's living in poverty is less likely to go to school and get an education. Right. And worse still, to send her own child to school. And I think patriarchy plays a big role, as my colleague is saying, insofar as setting of the rules and setting the stage. But as we celebrate International Women's Day today, and every other day we need to celebrate women, by the way, and I'm thinking that time has come really for us to shift the conversations to how can we tweak and twist patriarchy for the betterment of women.
Right.
I know tons and tons of boys and men who are out there sweating on behalf of women in their lives, on behalf of their mothers, their sisters, their girlfriends, and all that. So what is it can we do to go back to that table and say, hey, you are the patriarch, fine, we whatever, but how can that space, be used to turn things around for the betterment of women.
And there's an interesting quote that says, I find it foolish for women to claim to be equal to men. They're far more superior, in most of these things. Another says, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. But many said having more female representation in political leadership would change the situation and the gender gap in society. Then we created the position of women representatives. But still, the gender bill flopped for the fourth time before the National Assembly. And worse off that most of the women in Parliament were not present, in the National Assembly for that voting. Okudo, what would you attribute that to? Do we need more women to achieve gender, in governance, to achieve gender equality?
Absolutely. Men are not going to give up opportunities to us just like that. They're not going to give power up to us. This is something we absolutely have to fight for.
Right.
And I would love to allude to the great Lucy Kibaki, God rest her soul in peace, but she was very, very vocal about this, that women, we need to fight for our share. We need to fight for 50% of what's being currently left on the table.
We are 50% of the population.
Yes, we are. We're actually even a little bit more than 50% of the population. Yet we still are not, you know, claiming our fair share of the wealth that's being generated at the moment. And men are not going to hand it to us. It's up to us. So if we need, you know, more women in parliament, then we really ought to do so. And we need to support that because the numbers are what is going to turn things over into our favor.
Right, right. But it's not a fight, Betty, that women can fight alone. I mean, we've been trying for years to incorporate men to help us fight here. You, for example, are a contestant in KTN's Miss President show. Yes. What are you learning from that in terms of really taking your space in governance as opposed to letting the men hand it to you?
What I'm learning in there is, first and foremost, the 71 of us, gracious, powerful women, you know, drawn from all over Kenya. And each and every one of them brings something so unique, you know, into this pot. And in the academy, then we ask ourselves that if all of us 71 represent Kenya, then what is the problem? You know, we are here, we are passionate, we are educated, we are empowered, we are, you know, we are capacitated to use our voices for the right reasons. But I think, Michelle, it goes back to looking at how comprehensive of a support does a woman need to participate in a political process and to get the courage to actually say that I want to run, all right? Often, and this is just, again, part of patriarchy and how we are socialized as women, you're supposed to be submissive. A man who comes out to be aggressive is, you know, is jeered because that is what we want men to do. Right. You as a woman turn out to be aggressive, turn out to be the go-getter. What names will you not be called, you know? Yet we are fighting for the same issue. So Miss President, according to me, is an opportunity, you know, for Kenyans to converse without emotions, converse really intellectually on the capacity of women to lead, not only in politics, but in every sphere. Right. And I think that show is actually, you know, showcasing that, and I just encourage all viewers to keep watching. But back to your initial question, Michelle, I wanted to just say that the fourth time that bill failed, you know, in Parliament. And there is still a significant number of women in Parliament. We're not yet there, but we are not zero, all right? And so the question is, what is it that even made some of those women who are in there not show up
I mean,
to do a vote, you know, that concerns gender, but in this case, it is the female gender that we want to raise up. For me, I think there are a couple of things that we are not talking about enough, all right? First of all, voting is a democratic process. Anyone is free to vote the way they want. Women can vote men can vote women, blah, 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 all right? But we need to ask, what is it that goes on behind the scenes? Women can easily be threatened. This is a political issue, you know. They can easily be told things or made to feel in certain way that if we see you taking part, you know, in this. I know so many who were no-shows on that particular day or on the four sessions, but if you meet them outside of the house, they're super passionate, you know, about this. So it goes back to, outside of legal frameworks and laws, how are we empowering our girls, our women, to speak up, to build that inner courage, you know, in them, to be the face that they need to be, and to just say that I believe in this, I'm going to put my head on it, I'm going to put my face on it, come what may, but I want my constituents to know my position clearly on this particular
Have an opinion and stand for it. Unfortunately, ladies, we don't have too much time. Okudo, your final comments as we celebrate International Women's Day with the theme Balance for Better.
I would like to challenge both men and women who are watching to consider the values, you know, that they have. I think that at the end of the day, we can push for more female representation, but if we do not value leadership in women, we do not value courage in women, from a young age we're discouraging women from taking up, you know, their positions, then we're not going to see very much change in society.
All right. Thank you very much. Okudo Adero is an entrepreneur and energy economist. We've also been speaking to Betty Adero, who is the Chief of Party at Global Communities, on this International World Women's Day. And that brings us to a close on Bottom Line Africa.